This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of Phatts TV, sanctioned by PA Phatts and the non-genetically proven Sun. Any and all words have been authorized during the show. There is nothing off-limits. Nobody is restricted from watching and participating in the show. It is a free-for-all. Commencing at the siren, any and all discussions will be legal for an extended period of time. Sports, politics, and any and all controversial topics will be talked about. You have been warned. May God be with us all.
Good evening and welcome to Phatts TV on this Tuesday night, June the 9th. We are at the worldwide headquarters of Phatts TV. The worldwide headquarters. It is day 5 of quasi-freedom. Day 5. You still got that feathery hair working on you there. That 80s look.
Freedom.
Yellow is quasi-freedom.
Yellow is no different than red.
Well, sure.
I still gotta wear a dumb cloth that does nothing.
Yeah.
And I still can't go to the movie theater.
You could sit outdoors at a restaurant.
I could sit outdoors right outside of a restaurant too, like during red.
So how was your weekend? What did you do anything exciting?
Did I? No. Just
Okay.
golfed. I golfed yesterday.
Okay.
It's real nice.
That it?
Yeah, pretty much.
I practice social distancing, but you know what? I was thinking. I've been practicing social distancing since social distancing long before social distancing got cool. I've been practicing social distancing since about 2006, if you really want to think about it.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So I could be a trendsetter. A social distancing trendsetter.
Nobody likes social distancing.
So Friday night, after the show, this young person and we decided to watch Joker.
Took them long enough to finally watch
Yes,
it.
this is probably at least your third time, maybe even more.
3, yeah. That'd have been my third.
For those of you that haven't seen it yet, I would definitely recommend seeing it. It was very dark. It's a very dark movie. Not exactly what I expected it to be. And it's different being able to watch a movie now with somebody who's going to college for film and video production. Because he tells me things that a normal person would never pick up. Like there's in the movie, I don't want to give away any movie, but in the movie there's these steps, these long steps.
Mm-hmm. And it's always shot from the bottom.
Except for the last time.
Well, it's always shot from the bottom.
Right, yeah, but
every time he's walking up the stairs.
Yes.
Except for the last time when he's dressed up.
And he's coming down the stairs. Like something like that I would never pick up. But you...
Well, that's simple.
Possibly making a career out of this would pick up on that because there's a symbolism behind that.
That's the whole movie is symbolism.
Yeah, it was. So I would definitely recommend it. It was interesting to say the least. I would like to know whether he went on a massive diet to lose weight. Because he looks like he's about 130 pounds in this movie.
I'm not even sure about that. His body's gross.
He's definitely wasn't that skinny when he played Johnny Cash. Let's put it that way. So, we don't actually have too many different topics to talk about tonight, so I'm not going to keep you all that long. But I don't know if you notice now, all of these politicians are coming out and saying that they're not voting for Trump. They're not voting for Trump. You know, Colin Powell came out. Well, Colin Powell hasn't voted Republican since Papa Bush probably was in office. Baby Bush came out. Now, Baby Bush, there was a report that he said he's not supporting Trump. And then he came out and said, you know what, that report's absolute fiction. It's garbage. He doesn't say who he's going to support, but there's a lot of other people that are coming out. So again, it's always the narrative of the media, what the story that they want to push, the direction. The media, to me, is the strongest force, being able to push public opinion on anything. Because they could just bombard you with one side, all day, all night, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, until everybody believes them. Except for the rebels like you and me. We're rebels. We're rebels. Like Star
Sounds
Wars.
like fascism at work.
Like Star Wars. What does Natalie Portman say? This is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause. When they're in the Senate, when Palpatine becomes emperor, and everyone's clapping, and she says, this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause. How apropos. College word. Was that maybe one of your words of the day?
No.
No? Wasn't
It's
one
not
of
one of my words.
wasn't one of your words of the day. So George Floyd had his 4th memorial service today, and
Cool. Did you ever see that post of the one post where it has George Floyd, blah blah blah, knee on neck, and then the other guy, knee on back, and he died?
no.
Okay, well, basically same thing. Cop on him. He couldn't breathe. He died. Same kind of thing. Whatever. One was white. One was black.
Mm-hmm.
That guy died. No eruption.
Mm-hmm.
George Floyd dies. The whole country.
Well,
riots.
again, that's because the media didn't push the story. If it was all over the
It was
media,
the same story.
but did you ever hear about it in the media?
No, because he's white.
Exactly. You don't hear about that in the media. So interestingly enough, there was a report that the city of Portland, Oregon, where
I was about to say Portland, Maine.
No, Portland, Oregon, where the resurgence of Antifa in the United States has emerged. That's where it was born. They are giving their city employees up to a week off if they feel the need to mourn his death. Now, he wasn't from Portland. He was probably never even in Portland. But they're giving all city workers a week off if they feel the need to mourn, if they're too emotional to mourn. These are the people growing up that you gave a participation trophy to. They finished last, but they still got the participation trophy. I also noticed, you got all the progressives in the media and celebrities complaining, quoting about the fence that they put up around the White House. I have a different take on that.
Okay.
But Portland City Hall is now putting up barricades around their city building. You don't hear a word about that in the media, do you? No. But, in my opinion, it's a good thing that whoever decided to put the fence around the White House did. Because, some nuts are going to try to get over the fence onto the White House grounds. And then what happens?
They get shot.
They get shot and die. So I'm coming at it from the angle that this fence probably saved some lives. And I don't mean the lives of Trump and his family. I mean the protesters' lives. Because some idiots would have tried to would have tried to get onto the grounds without that fence there. There's no doubt in my mind. And if one did it, probably, 300 would have tried to do it. And you would have eventually had mass death. And that would not be a good picture right now for this country. So I think that was a really good idea for them to put up. But it's interesting. You hear about all these protests going on, and there's 3 words that you keep hearing. 3 words. And it's like everybody's watching Game of Thrones. It's like everybody watching Games of Thrones because you keep hearing bend the knee. Bend the knee. It's not kneel down anymore. It's bend the knee. You got to bend the knee. It's like that was a big thing in Game of Thrones. Whenever somebody took over it, you have to bend the knee. It was like you're in subservience. You've given up. You're bending the knee. So it's not like when you get all these people now to kneel in front of the other people. But they don't say, kneel in front of us. It's bend the knee. Bend the knee. So everyone's now a Game of Thrones fans, apparently. You've never watched Game of Thrones, so you have no clue what
I
I'm
watched the
really
last
talking
season. Does that count?
about. No, because you didn't tell you
I didn't watch
anything.
the first 6 seasons, but I watched the 7th season.
The last season was probably the worst season.
It was random as anything.
They rushed everything through in that last season. So last Monday, not yesterday, the Monday before, is when we had our president go over to the church that had caught fire the night before, and they had his picture taken in front of the church with him holding the Bible. Basically a publicity stunt, a photo op. You know, we all know it. But did you happen to see yesterday that Democrats in the halls of Congress took a knee? They bent the knee while they were wearing African garb. You're going to tell me that wasn't a photo op? You're going to tell me that wasn't a publicity stunt? There was two things that came out of it to me, other than the African garb that every one of them had on. And I'm sorry, I do not know what that was called. I did hear what it was called today while I was on my walk. And they played a message from some Twitter person over in Nigeria who basically bashed them from doing that, saying they don't know the culture of what cloth that they were wearing comes from. But two things I didn't notice, or two things I noticed. A, Jerry Nadler wasn't kneeling, because he probably can't kneel. He was quite portly in his day. Now he's lost a lot of weight. To his credit, he's lost a lot of weight. And for those of you that didn't see it, when they were done kneeling, poor old Nancy couldn't get back up. She almost fell flat on her face. She had to get help to get back up. So I think they were kneeling kind of in the morning before the afternoon, so, you know, she was a little early, little day drinking there, Nancy. Day drinker Nancy. Not a lot of comments so far. Pretty boring tonight. Pretty boring. So, on our last episode, we were going over that I was saying that in Richmond they were going to take down the statue of Robert E. Lee. Mm-hmm. And, you know, my opinion was do whatever you want to do with the statue, but don't erase history. So, in other words, if you're going to take the statue down, make sure it goes into a museum. So now a federal judge had actually put a 10-day hold. So they can't remove the statue for 10 days while he rules. I don't know why he needs to rule on if the statue could be removed or not, but whatever. But, you know, there was a time in our history where somebody else was removing statues. I don't remember. I'm trying to remember his name, but he had this strange haircut. And he had this funny little mustache. And he was the leader of the Third Reich. That guy was removing statues. After he took over Belgium and France, he removed statues. He burned them. Now, statue removing isn't nothing new in the history of the world. You know, after the fall of Russia, they were taking down statues of Lenin and Stalin. There was a statue of King George that 5 days after we declared our independence, we took the statue and melted it into weapons for the guns. And so they were shooting the remains of the statue of King George at the British troops. So, you know, it's nothing new. So there's some good times. Statues are coming down, and there's some bad times. Now, your own opinion, whether this is a good time or a bad time, but in my idea, you know, my opinion again, do whatever you want to do with it, just don't destroy it, because it's history. And if you forget your history, you're going to repeat your history. What does Daryl have to say?
Did not Clinton stand in front of that same church with the Bible doing the
I don't know if it was the same church, but yes, there is a picture floating around with Clinton standing in front of a church with the Bible. Probably not the same day Monica was in the Oval Office with him. But you never know. Monica, big dog.
I know who Monica Lewinsky is.
Good for you. Good for you. So, you have anything to say about any of all this? No?
No, I'm just kind of listening.
So, there was a gentleman that I follow on Twitter. He was going through the different state websites the Secretary of State to see how voter registration has changed since the 2016 election, to kind of give some idea of which way the states are going to go. Now, when it comes to elections, I am a huge fan of the Electoral College. I think that's a fantastic way to elect a president. I wish we would do that to elect governors. Each county should be counted as a vote, personally, or 2 votes, or whatever. I love that way of picking our leaders. Hopefully it never changes. Hopefully. There's actually supposed to be a Supreme Court decision coming out on whether states could choose faithless objectors or something like that, meaning that states could be required. So, like, if Colorado goes for the Democrat but the Republican wins the popular vote, the electors in Colorado have to vote for the Republican. There's a push for that, especially in the blue states. The Supreme Court's supposed to rule on that by the end of this month. So that's fairly important ruling that's coming out in the next couple weeks. You had no idea about that, did you? No. You should try to read a little more. Current events. Instead of just fluffing your hair all day. Hey, you golfed yesterday.
I said that.
How'd you do?
92.
92, not bad. So anyway, I wrote down some numbers.
Because Hillary lost.
Well, yeah. I wrote down some numbers on how some states have changed since 2016, based upon what this gentleman had put down. Now, I have no reason to call what he's saying wrong, because he says he got it right off of the Secretary of State's website for each state. So, for example, California. Republicans have picked up 49,215 registrations since the 2016 election. Pretty good, right? Sounds pretty good. The Democrats have picked up 1,332,452. California staying blue for quite some time, without a doubt. Quite some time. That's going to take at least one generation to turn that back to red. Oregon, the Republicans have lost 5,742 registrations, while the Democrats have gained 13,459. Another state that's going to probably stay blue for quite some time. Oregon. Nevada, Republicans have picked up 35,951, while Democrats have picked up 32,235. So a slight gain for Republicans there. Probably not enough to swing the state, though. The state of Maine, Republicans have picked up 5,890. Democrats have picked up 43,094. So a large swing the Democrats' way. Now, don't forget, Maine is one of the 2 states that split their electoral votes. The winner gets 2, and then each congressional district is also up for grabs. And traditionally, the northern congressional district goes Republican. So it's usually like a 3-1 split in Maine. It's not 4-0. Nebraska is another state that does it that way. Typically, Nebraska goes all Republican, but not always. But the first 4 states that I mentioned were pretty solidly blue the last couple elections. Let's get to some toss-up states. I got 4 toss-up states here. New Hampshire. This one's a little surprising. For those of you that don't know the motto of the state of New Hampshire, it's live free or die. Live free or die. Republicans have picked up 6,033 registrations. Democrats have picked up 51,975. You got to figure that's people fleeing out of New York and the Boston area, I would think. North Carolina. This one kind of surprised me a little bit. Republicans have only picked up 3,871. Now remember, that's a very swing state. Trump only won it by a point or 2 in the last election. So Republicans have picked up 3,871. The Democrats, this number's going to surprise you. It's going to surprise you too. Democrats have lost 203,979
Jesus.
voter registrations. That's a surprise. That shocked me when I saw that. The state of Florida. State of Florida has been a swing state ever since the year 2000. Remember the hanging chads? If Gore played his cards right, he would have won that. Gore fucked that up because he only wanted canvassing recounts in 5 counties. If he wanted the whole state to recount, he probably would have won that in the courts. And he might have been president. But because he only wanted to do 5 counties, that's why the Supreme Court kind of went the other way, which kind of shut that down. Gore screwed up in that. A little history. Florida. Republicans have picked up 273,710. Democrats have picked up 213,327. So a 60,000 vote edge there for Republicans. That's good news for Trump. And last but not least, the good old state of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? What do you think I'm about to say?
Probably similar to Florida. Not those high of numbers, but kind of similar.
Well, in the state of Pennsylvania, Republicans have only picked up 10,733.
That's not good.
Cringe, right?
That's not good.
Democrats, 80,053 loss.
Oh?
They've lost 80,000 registered voters since 2016, while Republicans have picked up 10,733. How interesting is that? Very, very interesting. So as I see more in the coming weeks, I will publish them. Speaking of the state of Pennsylvania, let's go over the primary results. I want to show you guys or talk to you guys about something interesting. PA election results. I was very disappointed that Jerry Glanville lost. Jerry Glanville was running for the Republican nomination for, I believe it's the 9th or 10th district, northeastern Pennsylvania, where I grew up. He would have made a really good representative. Hopefully he would have been able to beat Cartwright. He was a war vet, saw action in the Mideast, and he lost a leg in combat. Really nice guy. He would have done really well. Interesting, though, Joe Biden basically, at the time, had not clinched. He had clinched since that night. But he only won 79.42% of the vote. Bernie Sanders won 17.63% and Tulsi Gabbard won 2.95%. So Biden wasn't even getting 80% of the vote of registered Democrats. Now, don't forget, in the state of Pennsylvania, you have to vote via your party registration. You can't cross. Independents can't go in and vote as well. It's just a straight Democrat and Republican thing. In Biden's home county, for those of you that don't remember, Biden was born in Scranton. He did slightly better. He was actually doing worse. So a lot of these mail-in ballots must have been counted. He got 82%. Bernie with 14% and Tulsi with 4%. Good old Scranton. By the way, for those of you that care, Trump got 92%. William Weld got 6%. And Rocky De La Fuente, Rocky, got 2. Rocky.
Go Rocky Balboa.
Rocky. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. Our home county, or the county that we are in, Trump got 92%. Joe Biden only got 77%. Interesting. Bernie got 19%. Tulsi got 3%. Very interesting. Only got 77% of registered Democrats. Very, very interesting. Trump got 92%. So, wanted to change the subject a little bit. Was Christine have to say?
What are the counts for the state Trump versus Biden?
Well, now you got to remember this is just the primary and not that many people come out. Trump got 1,018,000 votes and Biden got 1.1 million. So Biden with a slight advantage. To me, that's less than what I thought. Since the incumbent is on the Republican side and he had already wrapped up the nomination, you're not going to get that many people to come and vote. I mean, let's face it. For those of us that were registered Republicans, at least in Berks County, we were really voting for just two things. Everything else was only one person running. Like there was 3 people on the ballot for president, and you were voting for the people who were going to go to the convention. Or, the party convention. I mean, other than that, like the 5 or 6 other things, there was one person. So, that's not indicative at all of what's going to happen on election day. You would have expected more Democrats to turn out for this. And they did, as you would have expected. Okay, so I want to shift away from politics a little bit. Shift away. Let's talk a little bit of personal sports. So I woke up this morning to a Facebook notification that my friend, Rick Jones, tagged me on the 10 most influential sports figures growing up. So I gave it some thought, like, do I really want to do this? So it was actually hard for me to come up with 10. I actually only have one person that was influential. So I'm going to give you my 10, and for those of you that follow me on Facebook, you'll see the 10 over the next 10 days. I listed one today. So I'm going to give you guys the 10 as a little sneak peek. And I asked the non-genetically proven son here to do 10 himself.
Yes.
I'm going to guarantee you we do not have the same names.
Yeah.
I could pretty much guarantee you. So we're going to do these one at a time. You'll start.
Okay.
Now, the one that's the influence to me, I will save till the end, and I'll guarantee you nobody knows this guy's name. Nobody knows his name. I believe he passed away in 2008. But he was very influential to me in my childhood growing up, and especially my early teenage years. So go ahead. Who's a name that you got?
These are in no particular order.
That's fine. Just give me one.
First one, I wrote down Bastian Schweinsteiger.
Schweinsteiger! Football. Why swine and not American football?
Because we make fun of his name.
We don't make fun. We like his name.
We like his name.
It's not us making fun. It's like Schweinsteiger.
We say his name a lot.
We do. Did he play for the German national team?
Yes.
Yes, and he presently is in the MLS because he's not really all that good anymore. Basically,
he's like 38.
Basically, if you played European football, when your career is in decline, you pretty much go to the MLS to play for a couple more years.
League.
Unless if you're Ibra. then you go back to Europe.
Because he was really good here.
then you go back to Europe.
And he makes fun of Carlos Vela, saying, "See, he's not in Europe, and I can go back to Europe."
I'm interested to see if Ibra's on your list. I can't wait to see if Ibra made your. Ibra did not make my list because I didn't know him when I was a child growing up. My first name, and it was the one I posted today, was Dennis Potvin. Now I have no. Of the 3 major sports, football, basketball, baseball, I have none. None of them. Because that would have been too easy. It would have been too easy to list Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Terry Bradshaw, Cal Ripken Jr., Ken Griffey, Barry Bonds. It would have been too easy to list them. So you're changing. You're putting Ibra down now, aren't you?
No, I'm just crossing out Schweinsteiger.
Oh. So I put Dennis Potvin first. Now, Dennis Potvin, hockey player. He was the captain of the New York Islanders, who, growing up, they were my favorite team. When you're young, you like teams that win. And I got to watch them on TV. They won back-to-back Stanley Cups. And yes, Flyer fans, the Islanders beat the Flyers when the Islanders won their first Stanley Cup. Now, why am I an Islanders fan? I'm an Islanders and a Ranger fan. I'm one of those weird people that were both. If you lived in New York, you can only be one or the other. You cannot be both. But when I was a kid, they showed Ranger and Islander away games on Channel 9, and where I lived, we got the New York channels. So I got to see all of their away games until I had to go to bed because I had to be in bed. And back then, all the games started at 8 o'clock, so I never got to watch the end of them. I was always in bed. Here's how influential he was. Now, he retired in 1988, so 32 years ago. When the Islanders go on the road to play the Rangers.
Ooh, that's a far one.
Yes, it's a far drive from Brooklyn to Manhattan. But when they go on the road to play the Rangers, still to this day, the Ranger fans chant, Potvin sucks. And he's been retired for 32 years.
Do they really?
Yes, they really do. They really do. Yes. Yes. 32 years later, they still chant, Potvin sucks.
I want to hear that.
Yeah, I'll find it for you, because it's true. All right, so that was my first one. So who's your second one?
I put Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant. I didn't know you were a basketball fan.
No, not really.
No, yeah, okay.
But how many years?
Sit up.
How many years did you go, Kobe, every time you shot a piece of paper into the trash can? That was a thing, and then he died tragically.
And then he tragically passed away. Yes.
Rip Kobe.
Yes. R.I.P. Okay. My second one is a name, again, that no one's going to know. Maybe for those of you in the racing community, you may have heard this name. It's going to be a stretch. But when I was young, my father used to take me to a track called 5 Mile Point. It was outside of Binghamton, New York.
Iggy.
Just about every Saturday night.
Okay.
And it was a modified. They ran big block modifieds there, amongst like 5 other classes. Somehow they got done before curfew every Saturday night. No idea. They kept them moving. It was a great show. But the guy that won track championship after track championship after track championship, some of you people may recognize the name, probably not. Chuckakoulis, the Pink Panther, number 3. He was a fantastic driver until his son, unfortunately, was killed. Not driving a race car, but he was in an automobile accident. And that kind of just took all the life out of Chuck. And he got kind of left racing. He eventually came back, but he obviously was never the same after his son passed away. But yes, that's my number 2, Chuckakoulis. Chuckakoulis, the Pink Panther. I was going to put, now some of you racing fans will know this, I was going to put Billy Pouch Sr.
I feel like I recognize.
Well, my nickname growing up, like I've called you this, but my nickname growing up too was the Kid. And that was his nickname, Billy the Kid Pouch.
I just remember the pouch.
Yes, because you know his son, Billy Jr. Nobody likes Billy the Kid because he won everything.
Oh,
so he's everybody that you didn't like. You know,
Carl knows that name.
Carl knows that name. What's the message? Oh, Gareth active. Carl knows that. Well, I'm glad Carl knows Chuckakoulis. All right, who's your third?
Norman Duke.
Norm Duke. Duke. Bowler. Short guy.
I'm even taller than him.
Big nose.
And big ears.
Big ears. Big ears.
But that was your favorite bowler, so it turned into my favorite bowler.
It was. Not when I was a kid, though. He came along after I was actually, he was still...
Yeah, your favorite bowler was...
He came along. He came along when I was a kid.
Your favorite bowler was...
Don't say it, because it might be my next name that I say. Because I'm going to give you a bowler next myself.
Oh.
So don't say it. It's probably who you're thinking. So don't say it. Don't say it. The cool thing about Norm Duke is he could throw any line on the lane. He could play right up the ditch, and then he could move to 6th arrow in the next shot.
And then throw it back up.
Then he could throw it back up. I saw him win a tournament commentated by Mike Durbin.
Your favorite bowler?
Mike Durbin. Mr. Excitement, Mike Durbin, with a backup ball. It was the craziest thing I ever seen. All right. So, yes. So, I'm going to say a bowler now. And this is when bowling was on ABC every Saturday afternoon, right before Wild World of Sports. And back then, obviously, Al Gore hadn't invented the internet yet.
Yeah.
So you never knew who was going to be on TV until the show started. Mm-hmm. Well, the name you heard a lot, And it just seemed like every time he was on TV, he would win. Do you remember the name now? Is this the person you were thinking of? Or you don't... Wait, you're shaking because it's not the person or you don't remember the name?
Both.
Okay. Earl Anthony.
Yeah, that's not,
Not
the
the
person
name.
I was thinking
Okay.
of. I was thinking of a different lefty.
Okay.
I can't remember his name.
All right, that's
though.
okay. So Earl Anthony makes my list. Fantastic bowler, Hall of Famer. In fact, he's ranked number 1 in the all-time greatest PBA players. Mm-hmm. It was interesting when I was going through that list, how many of those bowlers, there's like 5 of them that have bowled on our PJBT weekends. So 10% of the top 50
and
come
Earl
to our...
only had a career of like 14 years or something
Yeah,
like that.
and he won a ton of tournaments. And he
40,
was
30?
he was the like, again, like boring. He would just get up there, nice and slow, and just release the ball.
Yeah, only if that would work today.
He would just release the ball. Okay, so you're fourth.
I got a Belgian.
A Belgian. Obviously not a baseball player. I know who this is, but I can't think of his name because I know the Belgian that you like. Go ahead.
Kevin De Bruyne.
Kevin De Bruyne. He plays football
For Manchester City.
for Manchester City. Midfielder, right? Midfielder.
Yeah.
He could pass the ball like there's no tomorrow.
He had 20-some assists so far this year.
Yeah.
Which is kind of insane.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. My next name, I'm going to do the other bowler that's on my list. I have a second bowler on my list.
I also have another bowler on my list.
Okay.
We'll get there.
This guy did not play the lanes like Earl Anthony.
Oh, I think I know who this is.
He now bowls on the senior tour. He was the guy back in the 80s that put the hook in Hook. Amuleto Monicelli.
Hey, I was right. I was going to say, is he Venezuelan?
He is Venezuelan. Amuleto Monicelli. That guy could hook the ball. If the bowling ball was made out of, I don't know, paper, it would hook. Cement, it would hook. That guy could just get a bowling ball to hook. Back in the day when the ball didn't hook all that much. More than rubber. You know, they were throwing plastic and urethane back then, and he could get that ball to hook. The modern day hook master. Amuleto Monicelli. So that's my fourth. You're fifth.
Oh, you're gonna hear this name and be like, who the hell is that?
Okay.
Renaud Lavigne.
Who? What? Say that again. Say it again, but slower.
Renaud Lavigne.
A hockey player.
No.
Can
you tell what country of origin is that?
Judo.
No, not
Wait,
judo.
one more time. Give me that name.
Renaud Lavigne.
That's French.
It is French.
Woo! Did you think I would get that right? It was the la
50-50.
part. It was the la part that did it.
He was, I
Yeah.
wouldn't say anymore, the world's best pole vaulter.
Ah,
So back in high school, I would watch his videos to try to get better.
because you're a pole vaulter.
Yes.
At least back in high school, you were a pole
I was
vaulter.
trying to get better, and well, he was the best, so
Well,
learn from him, I guess.
I'm glad you went out of the box to think of a name. That's definitely out of the box.
Yeah, but you weren't thinking of that one.
No, and who's the really good kid now that pole vaults?
Mondo Duplantis.
Mondo. He's your
He
age,
broke
right?
the world record, and he's 19 or 20.
Yeah.
Previously held by Lavigne.
Oh. Does he still pole vault, or is he
Yeah, he
retired
still
now?
pole vaults, but he's
getting
not
old.
nearly as
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
You have like maybe a 10-year span that you're actually good at pole vaulting. Between
yeah.
20 and 30, and then you kind of...
Then you slow down.
You're getting old. Yeah, you're
You're
slowing
getting
down.
old.
You're getting old.
You're getting old. All right. My next one isn't a person. It's a team.
It's a team.
It's a team.
The New York Knicks.
No. No. And they captured the world.
The world.
You think times were bad now. For those of you that remember your history, if you think times are bad now, let's go back to 79 and 80. How bad times were then. Making my list is the U.S. men's hockey team that won the gold medal in Lake Placid.
I was literally about to say, I didn't know we could do teams, otherwise I would have put them.
Okay. So you can do 11 and you can put the U.S. But you weren't alive for them to influence you.
But every time I see that video, it's just like,
Yes.
oh, really?
Yes. Do you believe in miracles? If you
That
haven't
commentary is like the best commentary ever.
It is. And that was a spur of the moment. Like, if you listen to him talk, it just kind of came out. Like, if you've never seen the movie Miracle, I would absolutely tell you need to watch that movie.
Yeah,
that movie is
that movie
very...
10 times?
Oh, yeah. That movie is very accurate to what happened, how that team was built back then. Herb Brooks was like a freaking monster. He was the coach of the team.
80 UDA Hockey USA.
Yes. All right, so we're halfway through. So, who's your next?
The soccer player.
Okay.
Joseph Pulisic.
Oh. Interesting. Interesting you would go that direction. Now, that's out of the box, too.
Is that out of the box?
Yes, you almost played against him.
I did almost play against him. If I was a year older, I
would have played against him. And he's probably the best American soccer player that's playing right now.
And he'll be the best American soccer player ever.
By the time he retires. Until the next one comes along.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, he played for PA Classics, which they're out of like Mannheim area. And he played for FC Revolution.
Yes.
And they used to play each other a lot in tournaments. And Joe was 1 year older than Daniel here.
And then at 18, he got shipped to Germany.
Yes. Yeah.
To play
at 18, he went to Germany.
For Dortmund, and now he's playing for Chelsea in England. Just got done with an injury. He should start playing soon.
Yes. Really good player. He got his start playing for Hershey.
I think
his
so,
youth start.
I think so.
Then he went to PA Classics.
Yeah.
Yes. Good pick. Good pick. Good pick.
The local.
Yes. All right. I'm going with a sport that used to be on ESPN a lot. And that's never on ESPN anymore. Never.
Well, I know one because it doesn't have the rights to ESPN anymore.
And that's why.
Bowling.
Okay, but that's not the sport I'm referring to. This used to be on quite regularly.
What's that? What was that? I think of another one. NASCAR?
Yeah, it used to be on ESPN. And, I thought about putting Bill Elliott on my list.
Okay.
Because I liked him when I was young, and then I could have put Jeff Gordon on my list. And
that's another good one that I didn't put on my list.
But no, that's not either. These are in bowling centers, though. What else is in bowling centers?
Horse racing.
No, what else is in a bowling center?
A bar.
Okay, besides a bar.
An arcade.
That's sports related.
Air hockey.
Not video games or that. The other thing. It's got a white ball and 15 other balls. Pool.
Minnesota Phatts.
Making my list is Minnesota Phatts, the reason why I'm called PA Phatts today. Minnesota Phatts.
That's pretty funny.
That's me thinking out of the box. Minnesota. Now, he doesn't spell it Phatts. He didn't bling it up like I did.
Oh.
He was just Fats. And he was fat, too. For those of you that want to look up
was
Minnesota
he good?
Phatts. Oh, hell yeah, he was good. Hell yeah.
He can hit the ball in the hole.
If you have the name Fats, you have to be good. That's like a prerequisite.
We watched something.
We
watched something. I don't know what we mentioned 3 minutes ago.
Okay. Joe Palusek, probably 3 minutes ago. Okay, your next one.
Another soccer player.
Okay.
But this one actually does have influence. Manuel Neuer.
I've heard of that name.
He's the German national team goalkeeper.
Ah.
He was the goalkeeper I looked up to playing through soccer.
Did he play for them in the last World Cup?
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't do too good.
No. He's been playing for the German national team since 2010?
Who's his club team?
Bayern Munich.
So if I remember correctly, Germany was either the first or second favorite to win the World Cup last time, and they didn't even make it out of their qualifying round.
Hey, if you go all the way back to 2006,
yeah,
not Brazil, Italy won the World Cup in 2006, doesn't qualify in 2010. Spain won in 2010, doesn't qualify in 2014. Netherlands. Who won in 2014?
Not the USA.
Germany.
There you go. And they didn't qualify.
And they didn't qualify.
Interesting.
So the thing is now France isn't going to qualify, but Okay. Right. Because France, they won the World Cup with a bunch of young 20-year-olds. They are going to be nasty the next 2 World Cups.
The best billiards player, Minnesota Phatts.
Right.
All right. So now...
Miracle. She said miracle,
Miracle.
dumbass.
So, I don't know if you have a player from this sport on your list, because it's one of your favorite sports. But it made my list, because what a day that was. We're going to go back to Augusta in the 80s. The Golden Bear, Jack Nicklaus. A run up the leaderboard for his... Do we have a question in the crowd?
No, I have a comment. Go ahead.
I believe that was his 6th green jacket. Coming out of nowhere, shooting, I believe it was a 63 in the final round with his plaid pants. His plaid pants, I believe it was 86, if I remember correctly. What a day that was at Augusta. Turned me on to golf, that's for sure. Jack Nicklaus.
Believe it or not, I did not put a golf figure. That's one of the main sports I like watch and play now.
So what if you did have a golfer, who would you put? You could choose from a lot. My choices would have been limited to Nicklaus, Watson, Palmer, Trevino.
Can I say Arnold Palmer for his drink? Because his drink's really good. Probably like Rory or Phil.
Yeah.
One of those two.
Yeah.
Tiger for his playing style, definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much for him, but definitely his playing style.
All right. Who else is on your list?
And my next one, not really an idol, just my favorite player in the sport, Alexander Ovechkin.
Ovechkin. Because he plays for your favorite team, that helps too. One of the best players also plays for your favorite team.
Yes.
That always seems to lose to the Rangers. I mean, the Penguins. The Rangers in the playoffs.
When was the last time the Rangers made the playoffs?
This year! They made it this year, baby!
And who are they playing in the first round?
Carolina.
Oh, yeah, Carolina's a great team in the playoffs.
Beat Carolina.
Who Carolina beat last year? In the first round?
Capitals.
Yeah. in how many?
4. 5.
I think the Capitals won the first game and then got swept the rest.
Yeah.
It was not a good...
All right. So, my next two, one's a bad boy and one's a badass. So, which one should I do first?
Well, my next one fits in one of those categories.
All right. So, we're going to go bad boy first.
Okay.
He was a lefty.
Okay.
He was a lefty. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, and his famous saying was, "Are you serious?" Johnny McEnroe. Going tennis on you.
Oh, that's tennis?
Going tennis.
Like, who's
Johnny
tennis?
Mac. Are you serious?
That was another sport I thought about putting up.
The wars with Bjorn Borg. The wars with Jimmy Connors. That's what made tennis. If you're an alt house, you love the sport of tennis.
I'll watch it, but I don't know if I love it.
It's because you really didn't play it. Well, my Uncle Ralph, if you were anywhere near Carbondale, you played tennis and I played tennis. I wasn't very good at it.
I want to play you in tennis. I
wasn't very good at it.
I'm not that bad at tennis.
But you could run faster than me.
Yeah, and I already had like the physical ability to be able to hit it.
I can hit the ball. It doesn't take that.
With accuracy.
With accuracy.
All right.
So, bad boy Johnny Mac.
Well, my next one fit into bad boy.
Okay.
He's a bowler.
He's a bowler. Ooh.
This is another one where I like.
Oh, no. Oh,
You know
no.
who it is.
Oh, no. He stole all of his material from wrestlers.
How you know it's him?
Oh, you said bad boy. Who else? It's not his dad, that's for sure.
Are you sure? Yes, it's Pete Weber. Because I would love to emulate how he throws it.
Yes, he does throw the ball fantastic.
That would be why I'd idol him. Because
Who do you think you are? I am.
yeah, I don't idol that. I don't idol his attitude or anything, but the way he throws it...
Did you idolize his drug usage?
Definitely.
Did you idolize him getting drunk a lot?
Yeah,
Did you idolize him peeing on a lane? What an asshole he was. All right, my badass. We're going to the sport of boxing. Going to the sport of boxing.
Muhammad Ali.
No, you see, I could have said Muhammad Ali, but he wasn't my favorite boxer growing up.
Oh,
No.
Rocky
no.
Balboa.
Rocky Balboa. No.
Am I gonna know this guy?
Probably not. But he fought in wars. He lost a very controversial fight with probably a lot of people's favorite boxer back then. Lost a very controversial fight. Every time I've watched a fight after that, I probably watched it 15 times. I still think this guy beats the other guy. That's Marvelous Marvin Hagler, middleweight. He was in wars. That's when boxing was cool back in the 80s. They'd fight 15 rounds for the title, not this swimpy 10, 12 round crap like they do now. Man, they were men. You fought 15 rounds for the title. Marvelous Marvin Hagler.
I thought you were going to say...
And for those of you that forgot, he lost a controversial fight to Sugar Ray Leonard, which he beat Sugar Ray Leonard that day.
Whether you ever seen this movie, he's an actor. It's a silent movie. I can't think of the guy's name. It's a 30s movie? They thought he banned him from the United States. What's his name?
Charlie Chaplin.
From one of his movies. He has a boxing fight. You remember what movie?
No.
I can't remember the movie name either. But yes, it was a Charlie Chaplin. I thought you were going to say Charlie Chaplin.
So who's the last name on your list?
You ready for this? This is a long name.
Kaká.
It's a soccer player, but it's not Kaká.
That's a long name.
Yeah.
Wayne Rooney.
That's not a long name either. And why in the world would I ever look up to Wayne Rooney?
Who's the other guy with the short name? There's one other guy with like a really good soccer player with just one name. It's really short. What's his name? Crap. It'll come to me. You should know it.
I do know it.
Well, is it? Oh, it's on your list.
Yes.
Okay.
Saying his actual name.
Okay.
Edson Arantes do Nascimento.
Okay. Also known as
Pele.
Pele. Oh, Pele. Well, that's not the guy I was thinking of.
Oh, Pele though.
Pele. But he wasn't playing when you were growing up.
I have a jersey though.
Yes, you do. So Ibra didn't make your list.
Ibra did not make. I didn't think of him.
Ibra did. If you thought of him, would Ibra have made your list?
Yeah, Ibra.
Ibra. The only thing I don't like about Ibra is
that man bun?
Is how he puts his hair up.
But his style of playing is just different.
Yeah.
He doesn't play like anybody else.
Yes.
And his comments off the field are just...
They're pretty cool. All right.
He's like, oh, I'm the best player here. Like,
yes. my last name, again, no one's gonna know who he is. Very non-influential. He was just a recreational bowler. But he basically taught me everything that I know about the sport.
Okay.
His name was Selden.
Oh, I know him.
Well, you never met him, but you've heard me speak about him.
No, I know him.
Shut up.
I saw him last week.
Shut up. Yeah, because he died in 2008. Yeah, you saw him last week. Yes. His last name was Pinero, though. Pinero. Selden Pinero. He lived up near Honesdale, for those of you that know where Honesdale is. Damascus is actually where he lived. It's just outside of Honesdale. And when I bowled junior leagues back in the day, he had a son who was mentally handicapped and who bowled in that league. They allowed him, like, he was like 17 or 18 at the time. He was definitely out of the age range that we bowled in, but he bowled. And they allowed him to bowl in that league. And I became friends with the guy, and they would come on a Sunday and practice every single Sunday. And him and his wife and their son Ray was their only son, and he kind of took me under his wing. He was the guy that taught me how to throw a hook back in the day, and where my whole bowling career basically started. Where I started to get better was because of Selden, because he just taught me. He took the time. You know, a gentleman who he would have been in his. Let's see, he was 88 when he passed away, so he would have been in his mid-60s back then. He didn't have to do that. But every time he saw me, he invited me to bowl with his family. Every time. And he taught me so much about the game that I pass on to people today. And you're one of them that I've passed on some of his wisdom to. So he makes my list, and that was the only influential sports figure that I have. It's technically the only person that's ever influenced me in any sport. So
it's a good pick.
It'd be nice if I could find a picture of the guy. I searched the internet. I didn't expect to find one, but you never know. You never know. But yes, that's my 10. That's your 10. If you guys want to comment on your 10, feel free to comment on your Facebook page and link me and the non-genetically proven son here.
We've been going for an hour.
I know, because we drug out this one. we drug this out pretty good. All right, so that's going to do it for tonight. Stay tuned for the news for the next 3 days. I'm sure something is going to happen that the world's going to come down on our president.
Yeah, second wave of coronavirus, if it's actually real.
Yes.
I said that to a bunch of people. I'm like, if there is no second wave, like, it wasn't real.
I actually did hear today that Israel is now closing some of their stuff again because they've had a spike. And it's mostly in their schools, so they're shutting down all their schools again. You told me last night that Penn State is buying
500,000 masks and a year supply of hand sanitizer.
Yeah, I hope they're buying them from my employer.
I saw that now. I'm like, what? There's not even what?
Yeah, I hope they're getting them from my employer.
I hope they're buying that many so we could fill out the stadium. I hope that's the reason.
Because my employer sells PPE equipment. In fact, the parking lot of our work, since no one's basically allowed in the building, there's like 6 people there every day, has trailers all over it with PPE inventory.
That'd be nice, though. Say, we could fill out the stadium, you just have to wear a mask. Fine, I'll wear a mask just to fill out the stadium. Because aren't we safe then?
Who knows? You know, again, talking about experts, they said today that asymptomatic patients hardly ever pass it on to other people. You know, before that's all you heard is, oh, you could be asymptomatic and still transfer. You know, they could pick up the virus off you. Now the experts are saying, nah, that was a lie. Experts.
I don't know. If there's no second spike, it was all a ruse.
Well, again, you could fill the stadium, call it Penn State,
George Floyd.
Penn State, Blue-White Night against Ohio State, and George Floyd protest. And then you could do
it. You know, maybe I'll come up with that if they say we're not allowed to fill the stadium. All right, let's just do a George Floyd protest.
George Floyd protest. I mean, I posted that thing on Facebook that, you know, in California, they still want you to stay under 12 people, unless if it's a protest. Then you can do up to 100.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, what? That made no sense.
Seriously? It's like, come on, people. Come on. That'd be something Joe Scarsborough would say. Come on.
You're once loyal, buddy.
How's that strap on, Joe?
Oh.
All right, until we meet again, have a great next 3 days. 3 days. Keep safe. Try not to get in trouble. Don't get arrested. And remember, WWG1, WGA. Wait, bye. See ya.